Hello, I'm Mr. Connor, and this is going to be a short presentation on what you can do to be successful in my chemistry class. So to start out with here, I view education as something that you are doing for yourself. And, I'm here to help facilitate that process, but really what you learn in my chemistry class is all about you. And so being juniors now or sophomores that are a step ahead in your education, I think it's time that you really do your best to take control and make this your own education and take responsibility for things. And so I've got a list of things here you can do to try and make sure you're keeping up your end of the bargain while you're in my class. The first thing is you need to know the classroom procedures. Mostly it's just things like when you arrive in the room, there'll be some handouts to pick up. They'll be by the door. Make sure you pick them up, take your seats. If you're sick, I want you to get on the blog and check and see what you missed. Old handouts from previous days will be in a little basket on the radiator. They'll be numbered so that you can find what you're missing. Ask a peer what you missed. Ask me. Make sure that you've made up for what you missed, because I'm not going to come and track you down and try and make you figure out what's going on. You're going to have to do it for yourself. I'll talk a little bit about what to do if you miss a lab later on, but if you miss a test or a quiz day, you need to come into me the next class period when you're in school, and you need to tell me when you're going to make that up. So next time you're in my class, after you miss that test or that quiz, you need to be scheduling a time for me. It needs to be as soon as possible, definitely within a week of when you take it. After that, I won't want to be messing around with tests and quizzes that are weeks old. That's just not something that I'll be doing. Alright, moving on here. Because this is your own education, I'm saying you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So if you work hard, you're going to get more out of your education. If you try and make sure that you're accomplishing your goals well in my class, you're going to get more out of your education. And so those things are things that you should sort of focus on. I say here, set some short-term and some long-term goals, and just make sure you have a plan and you're keeping an eye on yourself and you're checking through, and that you're just demonstrating the most responsible behavior that you can while you're in my class. So my class is a little bit strange when compared to some other teachers' class, because I don't actually collect the daily homework assignments. I'll assign it, I tell you to do it, and then some people are like, well, why would I ever do the assignment if you're not giving me points? Well, it's going to be on the quiz at the end of the week. I would say hopefully some of you would just value the learning that would take place, but it's going to come up in other ways in the class, whether you know it or not. And so, I give you these things. I don't grade it because so many people have found ways to cheat the system when doing homework in the past, and also I don't think it's very fair to judge people when they're still practicing and working things out. So what I'll do is I'll give you a daily homework assignment. I'll put a key online. You're supposed to check the key. I'll also put videos of myself online going through the homework assignment. So if you're looking at the key and you don't understand how I've done a particular problem, you can check the YouTube video online and see how I've gone through, and I'll be explaining it in the video. And then if you still don't understand it, you can come in and talk to me. And so this homework system, I have you going home and doing things for practice and checking them on your own and coming to me. And the idea is that you're doing it for yourself. And then the way that it will come out in your grade is that when we have our quizzes every week, you'll be prepared for those, and your grade will be improved because you understand them. And also, as I said, you should be doing these things for yourself. It's your life. You should want to improve yourself, and that's why you should be doing the assignments. Quizzes, as I said, I call them homework quizzes usually. They're going to be usually on Fridays every week. To prepare for those, make sure that you're taking notes in class. By the way, if there's ever a notes day in class, your homework that night is to go home and study the notes. You'll remember everything better if you look at it again. And so anytime that we have notes in class, go home and study them. And then, on Thursday night, probably look back at everything that we've had in the last week. So that's how that will go. Usually if I teach you something on Thursday, it won't be included in the quiz on Friday. If it was something that I taught you right on Thursday and that was the first time you'd seen it, it'd be the next week's quiz that would be included on. So normally things that are Thursday of one week through Wednesday of the next week show up on your quizzes on Friday. If you want more explanation for that, I can give it to you later. For the labs, I also don't collect lab reports much for the same reason that I don't collect homework. I just think that there's a lot of cheating, a lot of people doing work for other people and things like that. And so how I'll do the labs is that I'll keep an eye on you while you're conducting the lab. If you're actively engaged in the lab, you'll get full points for it. It's graded on participation. Secondly, the labs will be part of your test. So you have to understand the big things from the labs. There'll be questions on your tests, and if you don't know what happened in a lab, you won't do well in those questions. I don't do lab makeups because there's just, if I organize a lab for 60 or 90 people to do in a given day, and then everybody comes through and does it, it's efficient. But if I have to set up a lab for one person to come in, and then they, oftentimes don't even show up, it's just not a very efficient system. And so what I'm going to say is if you miss a lab, make sure you get a physical copy of the lab handout, talk with a peer, make sure you understand the big understandings, and that's the way that you're going to be making up what you're missing for the labs. In addition to the concept questions on tests, there will be occasionally lab practical exams. What these are the exams where I give you a task and you have to go into the lab and perform that task. So for instance, I might have you develop skills in a certain sort of laboratory procedure and then tell you to perform that procedure, and then I'll assess you on how well you do practically in the lab. And so that's how that will work. We're going to have one of those a couple weeks in, so you'll get to see what that's like. For the exams, there are a couple things. First of all, I say study every night, or at least a few times a week. Look over your chemistry notes. Don't just put it all at the end of the unit. I give you a practice exam and a review sheet. The practice exam looks very much like what the actual exam will be like. It has similar questions, the same number of questions on the same concepts, and so you can use a practice exam to kind of determine how well you know the material that you're going to be tested over. Also, I'll give you a review sheet or a small review packet, and what I give you is buffer points for doing the review packet, and buffer points are sort of like extra credit, except that if you get buffer points, you can't get over 100% on an exam. And so usually what I say is a review is worth something like a 5% buffer on an exam. And so if you do the review assignment, it kind of, and you got a 95%, it would bump you up to 100%. But if you did the review assignment and then got 100% on that exam, then the review, it was just extra. I mean, it hopefully helped you get that 100%, but you don't get 105%. So I'll explain that more when I give you your first review assignment. But if you do the unit reviews, yeah, you get a little bit of a buffer on the exam. And then, just look through everything from the unit, try and make sure that everything looks good. Hopefully you've got your 3-ring binder or something to organize your stuff, and you can kind of just flip through. And then I recommend that if you look back through all the videos that I've made for that unit, it should help you out. And you don't necessarily have to watch them as actively as maybe the first time that you watched them. I say sort of jokingly, maybe, pull out a bowl of cereal in the morning and watch them as you eat or something like that. And, that'll give you a little bit more exposure to it. So as long as you prepare for the exams, my classes, I don't think that they should be too terribly difficult. 20% of your grade in this class is participation, and so for that, you just got to keep an eye on yourself every day that you're actually doing sort of the things that I ask you to, that you're attentive in class, that you're not being disruptive, that you're not demonstrating any negative behaviors. You should have a copy of my participation rubric, so make sure that you're familiar with that, and you'll turn that in at the end of every unit. Also, this year I'm introducing something called classroom ownership points. on the participation rubric, those are buffer points too, kind of like what I had with the reviews and the exam. And so, for example, some people are really, really shy and they have trouble participating in class by raising their hand every day. And so if that's you, there's actually this other way that you can get some extra points on your participation rubric by coming in and doing something to try and make the classroom a better place. This might include something like cleaning the labs, or making sure that our room is, a nice space all the time, or doing some favor for me to help the class operate more efficiently, or something along those lines. And so by participating in this sort of extra way, you can kind of make up for some ways that you can't participate as effectively in class. And so you'll have an opportunity to get up to five classroom ownership points each participation rubric, and those serve as sort of a buffer for other things. So you can't get more than full points on it. Again, the buffer points aren't extra credit, but they will push you up to 100%, and hopefully I'll explain that to you again in person, and so that should make sense. So as a last point here, just make sure that if you're falling behind, if you're getting stuck on anything, that you try and deal with it immediately. Don't let the problem snowball. I'm always here, so you can stop in any time and we'll talk about what you need. So those are just sort of the general points. If you have any questions about this, bring them into me and I'll talk to you more about the procedures of this class or how things are going to go.